Hello, this is the second in a series of videos where I'll be discussing some issues that can come up immediately after the diagnosis of Korsakoff syndrome. Since Korsakoff's has that sudden onset, it can really impact the family very quickly. You tend to have to make decisions very fast with very little information or professional guidance. So that's why I created this particular series of videos. I'm combining my experience both as a professional counselor working in addictions as well as my personal experiences caring for family members with Korsakoff syndrome. So I am not a lawyer. I am a counselor by training. I am not a lawyer. But these are just some of the quick legal issues and options you may have with caring for someone with KS and memory issues. Most of this is based on my personal experience, what my family found helpful to look into. When someone's initially diagnosed, if they are affected to the point where they absolutely cannot care or make decisions for themselves, you really need to know what your options are and to act on these very quickly. Now, if they are still competent, if they are not as impacted initially and can still make decisions and care for themselves and understand what's happening to them, keep in mind that these are going to come up as they get older and the disease progresses. I've seen situations where family members are just relieved that the person can still function somewhat and it's not as bad as they thought it was going to be, and they let these issues go, and then 6 months down the line the person gets worse, and then they're stuck trying to guess at what their wishes may be. Sometimes family members with Korsakoff's, it's someone close to you that you know well. It could be your parent. Other times you could be caring for a family member that you may not have had a lot of contact with. So these are just some of your options. I just want to introduce these if you're not familiar with them. One option is a healthcare power of attorney, and this is just appointing someone to help that person make medical decisions for themselves, someone that can set appointments, access health records, pick up prescriptions, things of that nature. A financial power of attorney, someone who can make financial decisions beyond their accounts, credit cards, things like that, just to oversee the finances. This can be very, very helpful because the person with Korsakoff, especially if they have a credit card, may not remember how much they're spending and may not be able to keep that mental list of their finances and know if they're overdrawing their account, for example. You may have to really have control of their money for them. A durable power of attorney, limited power of attorney, these are more general documents that help you deal with specific situations. A limited power of attorney, for example, is going to be limited by a condition, so that goes into effect when the person is hospitalized or goes into effect when the person reaches a certain stage of their illness, for example. And there are different general powers of attorney and even legal guardianship. If the person is not competent and not able to care for themselves, they may need a legal guardian who basically almost becomes a relationship as if that person was a minor again, and they have to have decisions made for them and have documents signed on their behalf. Again, this is very general, and laws are going to vary by state, so I really strongly recommend, if you're caring with someone with KS and you don't have these in place already, seek legal advice, because while you can go online and print off a general POA or a medical POA on the internet very quickly and enact it with a notary, no big deal, we're looking at lifelong issues, and when you have someone with a lifelong illness, it's possible that their caregivers may change. So you want to make sure you have as much documented and you have a lawyer kind of helping you through this process as much as possible. Some other legal issues that can come up, and this is just a list kind of created from working with families and some of the things they've shared with me that they didn't anticipate having to deal with. Does the person have a will? Wills are very good for anyone to establish, regardless of being sick, because you just never know when something can come up. But trying to determine if the person did create a will while they were healthy and competent, and if not, if they still have some level of competency and they still can articulate their wishes, have them do a will right away, just so everyone's clear on what they want, not only so the person's wishes get carried out, but if things go, progress and you're in a position to make decisions, you have that peace of mind knowing that you know what they wanted and you're doing what they wanted. Because end-of-life issues particularly can be very emotionally challenging for everybody. So do they have that living will or advance directives? Have they articulated what they want end-of-life care to look like? Are they considered mentally competent by your state standards? And state standards on this do vary. So do some research to discover what mentally competent is in your state. Are they capable of driving? This is something else that really varies by state. I think only a handful of states at this point do any kind of evaluation for mental competence for driver's license renewals. Most just stick with the basic vision screening and send you on your way, but some states are starting to recognize that as people age or have different illnesses, that they really shouldn't be behind the wheel, even if they can see and hear and have reflexes to respond. So check into the motor vehicle laws of your state to see if there is an issue with driving. This really can work in your favor if you're trying to care for someone and you're concerned about them driving because they're going to go get alcohol, or they're going to get lost, or maybe get into other situations you don't want them to be able to get into. See if there is a legal way that they could lose their driver's license to kind of help you keep them safe. Marital status. This is an issue that can come up if someone gets sick and they're in the middle of divorce proceedings, or if they're engaged. If their marital status is in flux at all, they're going to need some help to navigate that, to figure out how to resolve those situations. And if there are any minor children, this is a disease that typically hits in middle age, so somewhere between 45 to 65. It's more frequent as the person gets older, but I have had clients that have had it in their 40s. My grandmother, for example, was diagnosed with this very young. She was in early 40s, and she still had teenagers. So what do you do in a situation where there are minor children? If there's another parent in the picture, great. But if there isn't, how do you establish guardianship, someone to have guardianship for those children? Because someone with Korsakoff syndrome, between the memory issues and the confabulation, they may not be in the best position to care for their children by themselves. So that's just something that you may have to intervene with and see what the laws are, what the rights are in your state, to try to protect the children and care for them as best you can. So again, this was just a quick video to kind of introduce you to some of the legal issues and some of the options you may have when caring with someone for someone with Korsakoff syndrome. If you have any other topics you'd like to see or any questions, please feel free to comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll be happy to help any way I can. Thanks for listening.